Our next speaker is Barbara Demman. She's an acute nurse practitioner, clinical nurse specialist, currently serves as a hospice nurse practitioner here at UCLA. She focuses on mindfulness and reducing symptomatic burden for patients. She also has expertise with helping folks through end of life. And so she's going to talk today about empowering pancreatic cancer patients with mindfulness. And I'd like to introduce Barbara Demman.
Hi, good afternoon. Are we awake after lunch? Just checking. Okay, great. Okay. Sometimes all the food just goes in the belly and we need to stay awake, but I'm happy to stay awake with you up here. So first, I'd just like to say thank you so much. What an incredible honor to be here and to speak about something so passionate to my heart that's been helpful for me personally and with the patients that I work with. Also, a big special thank you to the Hirshberg Foundation. I am from the School of Nursing, a lecturer there, and we're always grateful for the funding and the grants that come our way to pioneer new type of research in these elements. And right now, our research study is within mindfulness. So as many of you know, and I don't even need to say it, pancreatic cancer diagnosis for patients themselves and caregivers and loved ones is incredibly stressful, right? Anxiety provoking. And what we found is that mindfulness practices can help individuals with these feelings that are all coming up, these experiences. And by doing this, it promotes kind of a sense of calm, present moment awareness and the ability to cope, and not only with side effects, but with what's happening every day, pain control, fatigue, etc. So I'm going to speak a little bit about that. Okay, so first of all, let's just talk about what mindfulness is. And my goal is to speak a little bit, but then actually do a mindfulness activity together. Because what's better to do is an activity together than me just speaking about it, right? But let's talk about what mindfulness is, because it's a very ubiquitous word. It's kind of out there. I remember when it first came around about 10 or 15 years ago, it was very exciting. And then all of a sudden, like McDonald's had McMindfulness. And I was like, what is happening right now, you know? So let's just kind of talk about what mindfulness is and get clear on that, as not only personally, but on the research world, right? So sometimes one of the best ways to start with defining something is to start with what it's not, okay? So let's talk about the opposite of mindfulness, which is something called mindlessness. And we actually all do this quite a bit, okay? So this is our tendency to be kind of in autopilot mode, kind of just like reactive, moving around, a stimulus response. And many of our waking hours are in the process of thinking about, planning, ruminating, reflecting, not very much in this like present moment in the here and now. And what this does is creates kind of a habit of not consciously or intentionally choosing what we think about, or not intentionally being present or aware of our surroundings. So let's just normalize mindlessness real quick. So by raise of hands, who in here has ever parked their car, gone to an event, and can't find your car? Great, mindlessness, okay? Who here has ever looked for way too long for their cell phone within your home? Mindlessness, okay, very good. So we just want to normalize this brain pattern of, kind of not being present very frequently, okay? And that's a normal thing. It doesn't mean we're doing anything wrong, but this is kind of the phenomenon of living in autopilot, living in the mindlessness mode that's been a habit of ourselves and society. So what is mindfulness? We now know what mindlessness is. What is mindfulness? Well, the working definition within the research world is mindfulness means paying attention, okay, so paying attention in a particular way on purpose, in the present moment, non-judgmentally, okay? So if we kind of break that down, when it means paying attention, that means sustaining presentness, okay, sustaining there. And in a particular way, meaning with intention, okay, and on purpose, in the present moment. So what is happening in the here and now, and non-judgmentally. And that does not mean we don't have judgments, because the mind has synapses firing of judgments all the time. And I don't know if you're like me, but I'm so grateful people cannot read my mind, okay? Sometimes something comes up and I'm like, oh, I can't believe I just thought that, and thank God no one heard that, right? Okay. But when we say non-judgmentally, what we mean is that those judgments or synapses that are firing and coming up with these judgments, it means we don't necessarily have to believe them, or they don't color or obscure the way we make decisions or go into habits of our life, okay? So this is when we talk about mindfulness, this is kind of what we mean. It means really just intentionally being in the here and now with whatever we're experiencing at this time. Now, we may say, why do we care about mindfulness? What's the big hype, okay? Well, many years ago, when people started realizing, gosh, this thing called mindfulness is kind of being effective for like lowering pain and increasing emotional well-being and, you know, decreasing other side effects. There's been some big studies, and one of the most monumental studies came out some years ago, and basically everyone who has a cell phone, which is most people, and this was a large sample population, throughout the day on the cell phone, they would pop up multiple times a day, you know, surveys, and it would basically ask three main questions. First of all, what are you doing right now? One type of activity, you know, everything from shopping to reading to, you know, about to go to bed, sexual relations, all of it, all the activities were there. And then the next question was, are you in the present moment? Are you thinking of the future, or are you thinking of the past? And then the next question was actually about happiness and fulfillment scales. And what the data kind of showed after this large sample population is that about 50% of the time, most people are thinking about the future. And about 40% of the time, many of people are thinking about the past. And about 10% of the time, people are in the present moment. Interesting. But then when we equate that to the satisfaction, fulfillment, happiness scales, what do you think was the percentage that had the most happiness ratings? Was the present moment, okay? So it was the present moment that people actually were like, wow, this is when I feel the most fulfilled. And even when it was a negative experience, which was so surprising. So even if the activity might have been something unpleasant, still being present with that showed higher satisfaction rates. So kind of crazy, because what this data theorized here was that the better predictor of happiness is actually being in the present moment, not what activities we do, not how much money we make, you know, not all these other things, right? It's actually being in the present moment that helps us. And they also said, like, mind wandering, thinking of the future and the past and these things, you know, those aren't leading to happiness or fulfillment or, you know, satisfaction. It's when we're in the present moment. So this is research, right? But, you know, a lot of us even have our personal experiences with this. And I love this illustration here. So what happens is we have a human being and a pet, a dog, and we are in the park, correct? And in the park, what do we see? Sunshine, trees, beautiful day, right? Why we live in Los Angeles, okay? A beautiful day. And if you look at the thought bubble of the human, what is happening in there, you know? I look at this and I see laundry, I see a desktop, I see maybe like bills coming through the door in the mail. I see a podium, which is very applicable because right now this is a stressful experience speaking, you know, all of these things, and the mind chatter, right? And then when you look at the dog and you look at the thought bubble, what do you see? You see present moment, correct? Okay, and I do think this is sometimes why there's an affinity to be with pets and children, because they have this capacity to bring us in the present moment. And that is fulfilling. You know, and there's something there. So yes, we have research to support this, but we can also have our own personal evidence base, right? You know, of this experience here. So, you know, the question is, now we've like said what mindfulness is or isn't, and, you know, we've kind of talked about defining it, et cetera. But the question is really, can mindfulness empower people experiencing pancreatic cancer, but also the caregivers and the loved ones? And what I've experienced in my practice is a lot of caregivers feeling like, well, I'm not the one with cancer, so I shouldn't be using these resources, or oh, my goodness, like, yes, I'm having stress and anxiety and depression, but like, it's not me who has the disease diagnosis, And what that can do is really isolate connection between partners and families, and this is all real and this is really happening. So, what can mindfulness do to support the loved ones who are supporting, but also the people experiencing pancreatic cancer themselves? And in research, we call these interventions of mindful activities, we call these mindfulness-based interventions, or MBIs. So if you hear these words in the future, MBI, now you know. It's just like a research study that the intervention is incorporating different types of mindfulness-based activities and interventions. And over time, the impact of MBIs has demonstrated, or associated, correlated, et cetera, that there is like a reduction of stress and anxiety, okay? That, there is a, with other, pharmacological therapies, et cetera, but mindfulness practice can help individuals cope with pain or cope with these experiences, manage treatment side effects, energy level improvements, sometimes even just being in the present moment and just noticing like I'm tired or I'm fatigued and I can rest now instead of keep going, or, these kind of things. Or, with emotional well-being, mindfulness activities can help individuals manage the challenge of the emotions, right? So like the fear, the sadness, the isolation that many of us deal with privately because we think, I don't want to share this because I'm going to bring somebody down or something like this, So, by fostering the self-awareness, the allowance of just what is and here, it can promote hope, it can promote resilience. And cognitive improvement too. I know earlier someone shared about the chemo brain, and just by having working with these side effects, fatigue, nausea, sleep, et cetera, it can help us, mindfulness has shown to help individuals feel more in control of perhaps what their bodies are experiencing, and then more active participants in the treatment experience, these things. So that's just a little bit of that. And so now the question might be like, well, this sounds good. How do I do it, right? How do I engage in this? So I first just want to say being mindful and being present is something we all possess. This is not like a superpower hero that like someone has to come from another planet and give us, okay? We all have the capacity to be in the present moment. And actually, it just wasn't taught to us a lot, And it can be cultivated and it can be trained. And as with all things that we practice, the more we practice it, the more available it is to us, okay? So one of my favorite lines that I tell, I work with a lot of nursing students and I work with a lot of people practicing mindfulness, and I love to say, we never rise to the level of our expectation, we just fall to the level of our practice, So it's just really important that the more we practice this, then not only are we more familiar with it and it becomes more of a habit, but we're more to rely on it in times of stress, So what can we do to be in the here and now? How do I do this? There's many ways. One great tool is to do something that we all have, and all of us in this room have a body, okay? That is something uniform that we all have together. And we can use the body as a tool. So we can become mindful of the breath, breathing in and out, noticing the rise of the chest and the fall of the chest. And if the breath is too overwhelming, like for example, sometimes when I work with patients with COPD or respiratory disease, the breath is too triggering. So let's move into mindfulness of sound in the environment and hearing all the sounds around us and noticing the qualities of the sounds that come and go, sounds that are consistent or inconsistent or loud or, these kind of things. Or mindful eating can be a good tool. Even if our appetite is low, sometimes just having an experience with a delicious drink, just one sip, noticing the flavors in the mouth, that experience, what changes there, the temperature sensations, swallowing, these kind of things. So there's many different tools. And we can take courses in this, we can get trained in this. Our current research study funded by Hirshberg, thank you so much. We have created an online 4-type module for caregivers and people with pancreatic cancer to do together. And what we're looking at is to see if this fosters connection among many other things too, but just having this experience of doing mindful activities together. Okay, so I can talk a lot more about it, but what I would much rather do is do an activity together, if that's okay with you. So why don't we just do that together? And I'd like to invite you to participate in this. I first just want to say a couple things of doing mindfulness is there's no way to do it wrong, okay? There's no way to do this wrong. There's no right or wrong. If when you're doing this activity, and I will guide us and prompt us, if you notice your mind wandering like, what's for dinner, or where did I park my car, or whatever that is no problem. The mind just wanders, and that's what it does. And when we notice that and bring it back to the present moment, it's actually the bringing back that is the mindfulness, you know? So there's no need to feel tight with that or like I'm doing something wrong, okay? And what I'll do is I'll just kind of walk us through and lead us. You can listen to my voice, and I'll just encourage us and give us prompts, okay? And if you don't want to participate, that's okay too. I just ask that you don't make a lot of noise or a lot of stimuli, or, you know, I always joke, open a can of tuna that everybody smells and it distracts or anything like that. So just, you know, kind of a moment where we can all be together and collectively experience the present moment. And then you can notice just personally if this makes a difference or not, you know, just your own kind of observation. So first what we'll do is just take a position that offers this to be present. So I'd like you to turn your legs or whatever way it is so that your back is straight and supported in the chair. And if you could please just place your feet on the ground, both feet, if that's comfortable for you, and moving your hips all the way back to the chair. And then think about straightening up your spine, okay? And maybe even imagining just kind of stacking the vertebrae one on top of another, even all the way up to the back of your neck, what we call the cervical spine there, and kind of tucking your chin a little bit. And hands can be in any position you like. There's no limitations there. And maybe rolling your shoulders up to your ears, and then just rolling them back and noticing that this may be the first time today that we've actually sat in a very tall position. And as far as your eyes, it's your choice. You know, you can have them closed if that feels safe and comfortable for you, but if not, just lightly gazing down towards the tables or the knees, and you know, not looking all around and getting a lot of visual stimuli. And whenever you're ready, if it feels good for you, go ahead and take 3 nice long, big, deep breaths in and out at your own pace. And just allowing the breath to settle into its normal pattern. So we don't have to make the breath be a certain way, but just really trusting in the body that it will breathe for us and allowing that to just take its usual routine. And let's just take one more nice deep breath because that felt so good. And then we're going to just open up to the experience of hearing or sound. So let's notice the sounds within this room. And when we notice the sounds, we also kind of notice the quality of the sounds. So first noticing sounds that are just kind of consistent. And then maybe noticing some sounds that may come and go, like even the sound of my voice. And maybe noticing the space in between those sounds that come and go, but just kind of sitting here with the phenomenon, the experience of hearing. And then taking a nice deep breath in and out. And then offering some attention to what we say is the felt sensation or the body, the experience of feelings, physical feelings. So we can start by just noticing maybe like shoes around our feet or the weight of clothing on the body. Maybe noticing the weight of glasses on the face or hair touching the ears or the back of the neck. Maybe noticing the temperature sensation, like the temperature sensation of skin exposed to the air, that might be cool, or skin under clothing, which might be warmer. Maybe there's some strong stimuli, maybe there's something really strong that's getting your attention within the body, and just noticing that, not trying to change it or alter it or make it be different, but just sitting with here, what's right now in the felt sensation. And then taking a nice deep breath in and out. And now I'm going to just guide us quickly through a relaxation scan. So bringing your attention to the top of the head, seeing if it's possible to rest those muscles on the top of the head or just relax them, imagining that. Scanning your attention through the hairline, the forehead, and the eyebrows and the eyes, just allowing the eyes to soften, the eyelids to rest. Scanning through to the cheeks, the jawbone, the jaw, letting the jaw rest. Seeing if it's possible to just rest or relax the muscles of the face. Into the ears and the back of the head, scanning your attention to the sides of the neck, the front of the neck. Sometimes I even imagine just resting the vocal cords. Scanning your attention to the shoulders, letting the shoulders just kind of drop, having a moment of rest. And bringing your attention through the arms, the biceps, the triceps, the forearms, the hands. Maybe feeling your arms become heavy, but still fully supported. And into your chest and the belly, letting the belly rest, all those muscles. Sometimes I even imagine like the inside organs just getting a moment of a rest. And the upper back, the middle back, scanning down to the lower back, seeing if it's possible to relax those muscles or just imagine doing so. And into the hips and the pelvis, the thighs and the knees, the calves, the shins, the bottom of the foot, top of the foot. And taking a nice deep breath in, and on the exhale, seeing if it's possible to just rest the body a bit more. And in this space right now of rest or potential rest, just kind of mentally thinking at this very moment in time, there's nothing I have to do right now. There's no decision I have to make. There's no way I have to be. There's no way I have to feel. There's no role I play in my life at this very moment of, parent or child or friend or professional or colleague or with disease or without or whatever it is, and that at this very moment, there's an incredible opportunity, like a place of safety or refuge to just be. And in this space that we create of safety, of non-doing, we can actually even make it a warm space too. And we can offer ourselves some encouraging words. We can say right now, you know what? Good job for participating just in this activity right now of just stress reduction and mindfulness, which is known to just help so much. Good job to me. And acknowledging everything it took just to get here right now. Like everything before this, just getting me here to right now. Good job, me. And we can offer ourselves some well wishes too. May I be kind to myself. May I be loving. May I navigate all of this with grace and ease to the best of my capacity. And just sitting here in a place of warmth and support. And we can also offer that to everybody in this room, and just wishing for everybody in this room to be happy and to be healthy, and may we all navigate it with grace and ease. And then taking a nice deep breath in and out. And taking another nice deep breath in and out. And then just slowly starting to move your fingers and being very mindful of that movement of opening and closing the hands. Maybe starting to wiggle the toes within your shoes, starting to point and flex your feet as long as this is not painful. Maybe starting to stretch your arms straight and bend them, and your legs as well. Just some gentle movement, but being very present with this movement. Starting to roll your shoulders backwards a few times or forwards a few times if that feels okay. You can even just kind of roll your neck, maybe even massage your shoulders, whatever feels good for you in this moment. Massage the back of your neck. And then taking a nice deep breath in and raising your arms up towards the ceiling and trying to reach. Opening your eyes if they have been closed, and opening them and just exhaling and lowering down. And we did it. So if any of you are like, I don't meditate, you just did, okay? So that was about 8 to 10 minutes of mindfulness or meditation, and thank you for doing that with me. It was a pleasure. If any of you have any more interest in that, there's some beautiful flyers back there, a beautiful one from the Simsman Center, as well as a link to our research study to more of that. So thank you for this opportunity. Thank you. Okay.